Young men are dropping out of society at record rates. No jobs, no dating, no ambition. It's not laziness, it's a strike. When the game is rigged, the only winning move is not to play.
In the mid-1950s, 98% of men aged 25 to 54 were in the labor force. Today, that number is closer to 88%. But what happens if it continues to get worse? More disparity between men and women, more angry, resentful, lost men? We're going to have to actually confront this issue because it's going to get bad.
There is a growing subculture of young men breaking off from society. Red pill, incel, black pill, transmaxing, and probably more that most of us aren't aware of. They're not all the same, but they're built on the same thing: disillusionment. They were told, work hard, be strong, earn your worth, and you'll be respected. But that formula stopped working. Now they feel discarded, powerless, and without meaning. They're forming identities around grievance. They bond over made-up enemies: women, feminists, trans people, anyone they think is getting what they were promised. This isn't random. It's what happens when there's no initiation, no purpose, no elderhood. You know who understood this? ISIS recruiters. They didn't just offer ideology. They offered status, order, brotherhood, and a role in something bigger. This is the same psychological vacuum, just playing out online, just waiting for the wrong signal to light the fuse. If something better doesn't step in, something real, this doesn't stay a meme, it metastasizes. This isn't about politics, it's about meaning, and what happens when men can't find any.
So men are opting out of society. Men are no longer working as much. Men are no longer dating as much. Men are no longer going to college. It's mostly women and college. So what is happening here? Why are men holding back now? Why are men quitting? Why are men opting out?
So 80% of men are tired of dating. They've decided to opt out of the dating pool. That is different, crazy. But why are you guys opting out of the dating pool? I don't get it. Leave a comment. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But 80%, that's a big number. Girls, what are you girls doing to these guys that they don't want to even date anymore? What's going on? I'm in the older sector, so I don't have to look for dates anymore. I got one already. But man, what a huge number. 80% of men do not want to date anymore. And that's in between the ages, I think it was 21 and 35. If they're single, they just don't want to date. Why? What are you guys scared of? What's going on? What am I missing? Am I missing something, or am I just an old fart?
I think men are starting to come to the realization that the juice just ain't worth the squeeze. I've been seeing articles about how guys are dropping out the workforce. And I've also been reading articles about how guys are dropping out of dating. And I was wondering why so many guys are not working, why so many guys are stopped dating. And I think it's just because the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Like, think about it. Imagine working like 50-hour weeks, right? You doing overtime because you really grinded. Just so when you see your check, you see a third of it going. And you read on the news that the U.S. just sent a care package to Ukraine while you sitting here struggling. Like, imagine going on a bunch of dates as a guy, right? Knowing that if you ask someone out on a date, you're expected to pay for that shit. And the girl you talking to has no interest in getting to know who you are and just want a free meal because she's broke. And on the flip side, imagine if that shit is successful, right? And you end up getting her your girlfriend, and then you progress the relationship along, and she's your fiance. And y'all get married, and y'all have kids. And then now what you signed yourself up for is a whole load of responsibility. All their well-being is on your shoulders, and nobody thanks you for that shit. But let you fuck up, you definitely getting the blame.
This society, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely cooked. And you're going to see men, especially self-respecting men, want nothing to do with it. Like, I was talking to a son who would reach out to me earlier the other day, and he told me about when he was in university, he was working towards getting an engineering degree, which will be very secure, and he's doing actually very well for himself now. He was even able to purchase a home 2 years after graduating university. But he said while he was in college, he was living with his parents. Again, the smart thing to do, the financially smart decision where he didn't have to worry about those kind of things. Living with his parents, driving an older kind of beat up truck. And there were many times where he'd go on dates, have dates arranged, and when the girls saw his truck, they want nothing to do with him. But they'd rather be with a guy who has no money in his bank account, but drives a leased Mercedes C300 or has the latest iPhone, or has it, because I know people like this from real life who they'll have a $200 pair of sneakers on, all this kind of stuff, but have no money in the bank and have no plan to improve themselves with that kind of stuff. So it's absolutely insane. What that tells you is people do not care about us men as individuals. They just care about the superficial stuff. They care about the imagery. They care about what they can get. Everyone right now is trying to scam. They're trying to take advantage of people. It's really hard to trust people nowadays. And I'm not just talking about women or dating. I'm talking about in general. Like, even the other day, I was out getting an oil change, and this was a place I go to all the time. I've gone to for years. It's even the place that I bought the car from was a Jeep dealership. And after the oil change was done, they had called me and said that the engine was overheating and that there's an issue with a blown head gasket and that I need to pay like something like $3,000 to fix it. And I said, okay, you know what? Give me some time. I'll think about it. Let me just take the car with me for now. And keep in mind, this was during the summer and the oil was low. So naturally the engine is going to be a little bit overheated. What I came to find out was that the coolant was completely drained. There was no antifreeze or whatever in the car. And I had filled it. Car ran perfectly fine since. There was no engine overheating. I actually called them back because I was like, hey, what is this about? You guys are professional mechanics. How do you get this wrong? Basically insinuating like you guys were straight up just trying to scam me, and they were gaslighting, dilly-dallying around the question, saying, oh, well, we weren't saying it was for sure a blown head gasket, but it's like, yet you wanted me to pay $3,000 out of pocket? It doesn't make any sense. And understand something. When people talk about this kind of decline in society and stuff like that, understand that this has happened because of a shunning of masculine values. When you have men acting masculine, you're not going to have these kind of things. You're not going to have manipulation. You're not going to have dishonesty. You're not going to have people trying to take advantage and play one another. You're not going to have people who are so insecure because those are not masculine traits. And the big problem is now you have a lot of women who are not only raising kids throughout their own children biologically, but also in the school system because an overwhelming majority of teachers are women. But I see a lot of women who are taking their anger out on their sons, taking that anger from the fathers, whether it's from husbands, ex-husbands, whatever trauma it might be, taking it out on even boys in school in some cases, things I dealt with when I was younger. And the reality is, that is the most sick, depraved thing I could think of. Using someone's biological son or biological kid as a manipulation tactic, bargaining chip, whatever you want to call it, form of spite towards the man is one of the most sick things you can think of. No matter how you feel about what happened, there are two sides to every story. No matter how you feel about that, understand something. A kid, especially a son, growing up without a father in their life, without a male role model in their life, is a travesty, no matter which way you want to put it. No matter which way you want to put it. I don't care what anyone thinks about that. It is a travesty. I had a good friend of mine growing up, actually my best friend in high school. I used to go over to his house all the time, and the whole time, his mother would just be complaining about his biological father, who he had not seen since he was about 5 years old. You know, one of the only masculine figures that he had in his life as a kid. And she's there trying to slander him the whole time. So this guy's going to grow up now thinking that his father was a bad guy, being raised by a single mother, thinking that masculinity is bad. And the worst part is a lot of the time when men are lost, because I understand that there are cases where, you know, I've known friends of mine who unfortunately had fathers pass away when they were young. You know, there are obviously stepdads and people like that who are there. Although I understand it's not easy understandably, it's not easy for a single mother to find someone who's willing to take that position. But my point being is that you have people who now they're going to go look for masculine figures. The first place they look at probably what they see on the media. They're going to try to emulate that. And the reality is, a lot of the time, those are not real masculine role models. They're just not. They don't exhibit masculine behavior. And that's why you have so many men growing up lost. That's why you have so many men growing up confused. Like, this is easily the most selfish, self-centered generation probably of all time. And unfortunately, I'm here. I'm part of it. You know, I'm having to deal with this kind of stuff. You know, and it's, again, my mental health has been so much better since getting off social media. I was going to make an Instagram account for the channel, but I was like, you know what? I don't really think I'm going to use it much. I don't think I'm going to upload on there because I noticed as soon as I got back on that social media, my mental health started going downhill. Seriously. So that kind of stuff is really a root cause of a lot of the insecurity we see nowadays. A lot of the reason why people feel so lost and insecure, and a lot of the emasculating behavior. The worst part is you have a lot of people who, again, what I say with selfishness, with success, people who succeed, they want to be very prideful and think it's all about them, not remembering that there is a whole team of people who helped you potentially get to that position. Like when I was a teenager, I'll be the first to say I was very troubled. I was lost. I was confused. I was full of anger and ego. And I did wrestling instead of football because I wanted something where it would be all about me, where I would be the individual. But what I come to learn is that you have training partners who you drill with and practice with. Without them, you're not going to get better. You have coaches who show you the techniques. Without them, you're not going to get better. It was never a solo ride.
More Gen Zs and millennials are deciding to drop out of this society, and I honestly don't blame them. I'm literally right there with you guys. Like, I feel like you can go like so long just like giving a fuck, so long waking up, dragging yourself to your job, but it's like when you're not getting anything back, people just start to say screw it. People are exhausted, people are burnt out. And it's like as soon as you're in a position where you're able to like catch a break from this, you kind of just feel like all of it just starting to catch up to you. You start to realize the mental exhaustion that you're living with. You're living with a dysregulated nervous system. Your brain is just kind of trapped in that fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. And it's almost like every time you try to put yourself back out into society, it literally feels like your body and your spirit is just rejecting everything about it. It's like you know that it's not natural to live this way. From the food we eat to the overworking ourselves week in and week out, not being paid enough to survive, it eventually gets to a point where it just completely takes a toll on you and people just stop caring. And it feels like, the amount of effort it takes to participate in this pathetic society exceeds what we now get in return. It's like things were a lot different 20 years ago than they were now. People were able to, live off of one income and still be able to survive comfortably. And now there's people out here that have like 4, 5, 6, 7 sources of income coming in. And people are still failing to be able to pay their bills. Something has to happen. Like, I feel it in my spirit. I feel like more people are getting to a point where they're just done. They're just fed up with this shit. They have nothing left to contribute to this toxic ass, narcissistic ass society.
I really think that one of the reasons to why men are opting out of society is because of how society is taking the role of masculinity away from men. The ability to provide and protect, those are the most crucial roles men need to have in order to function in society. And when you have things that will take those powers away from men, they can't do anything. If they cannot find a job that would provide for their family, then they can't build a family, because they know that I can't have a good job, therefore I can't afford a family. So why, it's stacked against men. And how women nowadays are being masculine. Why do men need a masculine woman? They need feminine woman. So I'm not blaming women for being masculine, because that's how society has turned them into. They have to be tough, they have to survive, and women need to use their abilities to survive, and in return they're going to become masculine. And masculine just doesn't attract masculine. It just doesn't match. Masculine has to attract feminine, but in this society now, everything is messed up.
Women are going to have to start approaching men, and here's why. We are now living through a day and age where modern men have less confidence than ever, okay? We always see these studies, right? Testosterone levels seem to be dropping. Men are less assertive. Men don't approach. Overall, men are not the active initiators really in society anymore. So what's happening is there's more and more single women. Okay, as there's more and more single women, what is slowly going to have to start to happen, or what will happen in my prediction, is that women are going to have to start to approach men. I don't really see this getting any better. Majority of men are getting more and more passive. Majority of men are more fearful of talking to strangers than ever. And majority of people are meeting through apps. So what's happening is, the top 5% of guys who know how to take really good photos or display a lot of value or a lot of appeal or just look overall very attractive in photos seem to be gaining the most attention from women. Now, what you're also going to find is that most men have completely just lost their swag or their sense of confidence. Okay, men, 20, 30 years ago, even longer, right, 40, 50 years ago, knew and understood that the man has an active energy, an active vibe, a masculine vibe that can attract women a lot of times, regardless of looks or regardless of, just overall sex appeal, right? But that's been lost, okay? Majority of men don't step into that confidence. They don't step into that masculine energy, if you want to call it that. So what's happening is majority of women are essentially dating the exact same 5 to 10% of guys. So listen, this is what's probably going to happen. What's probably going to happen, you're going to see a shift, in my opinion, over the next 10 to 15 years, where women are going to actually start to approach men or approach men more. What you're going to see is that there's fewer couples than ever before, fewer marriages than ever before. People aren't having kids like they used to. So because of that, something is probably going to have to change. And to be honest with you, I don't see things changing anytime soon. The way that things are going, women are going to have to start to approach men, and that's probably how things are going to go. And they're going to resist it, right? Keep in mind, but you will see a lot of women start to wake up and realize that they're getting older year by year. And you see this when women turn, 35, 45, 50 years old, whatever the case may be. They have no problems walking up to whatever man they find attractive and shooting their shot. And the reason being is because they know that they're getting older and we don't have unlimited time. This is all just my prediction.
There is an obvious war on young men happening right now, and the objective of this war is to keep men and women divided so that we don't join together to create family units, because if there's one thing that the elites hate, it is a strong family unit. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't see this problem getting better until women, myself included, take responsibility for the hand that we've had in radicalizing men. I'm going to add this disclaimer, even though I shouldn't have to. I'm obviously not saying that women are solely responsible for fixing this issue, okay? I'm not saying that. But I will say that we had a big hand in creating this problem, and it is our responsibility to partially amend it. So what's going on with young men exactly? Well, the simple answer is they are not doing well. They are not succeeding. Women are surpassing them at every level in professional careers and education, all of it. Okay, we are seeing young men struggle. They are addicted to porn. They are addicted to video games. They do not want to partake in society because they have internalized this message that society and women hate them. Now, because this is the message that they are constantly hearing from society, both online and offline, men are becoming more radical. They are looking towards figures like Andrew Tate because figures like Andrew Tate actually validate them. And we as women, we have not made this any easier for men. Okay, I will give you an example of what the average experience for a man is in this current society, especially online. Men go on TikTok and what do they see? They hear women saying, if you're not tall, rich, and hot, get out of my face. They see women doxing men online just for, sending them a DM on Instagram just because they're ugly. They see women saying, men used to go to war and die and now they just take pictures. They see all of this. And it just reinforces this idea that society hates them and that women hate them. I don't know about you, but I would also not want to partake in a society that makes me feel that way. I would also not want to couple up with the gender that's making me feel that way. Now look, this conversation is very nuanced. I'm not saying this is the sole reason why men are becoming radicalized, because it's not. But it is a portion of it, right? And this is something that we as women can control. So ladies, I need you to stop complaining that there are no good guys out there, because first of all, that's not true. And also, we are not creating an environment that is going to facilitate the growth of good men. We are creating an environment that makes them want to be reclusive, because all we're doing is shouting, "You suck, we hate you, get out of our faces." And I already know that some feminists are gonna attack me in the comments saying, okay, pick me, okay, pick me, okay, pick Misha. But I don't care. I don't care, okay? I think it's very important that women are talking about this, okay? Because this is a problem. This is a problem in society. Men make up half of our population, okay? We want strong men. We need strong men in society. As much as you probably don't want to hear that, it's the truth, okay?
Where are the men? What happened?
That is a really good question.
I don't know who's to blame.
I could think of a couple possible answers in regards to who's to blame, as I'm sure we all could.
Men don't want to be men anymore.
It's not that they don't want to be men anymore. It's that they've been told over and over again by society and various other groups of people that they're full of toxic masculinity, and the traditional ways in which many men behave is no longer wanted by a large number of people.
I feel like we're around a bunch of Peter Pan. What happened to men and values and family?
What motivation do men really have to act like men when all they get in return is condemnation, criticism, and disparagement?
Taking care of their women and just being the man and the protector.
Let's not forget the large number of women out there that are constantly saying,
I don't need a man. I don't need a man for nothing.
So yeah, that's what's happened to men.
We're at a point right now where young men are going to revolt. Regardless of what postmodernist philosophers think about equity within society, young men are the ones that possess the capability to impose their will. They're the ones that we use to fight wars. They're the ones that we use to police streets. You don't get to alienate and attempt to emasculate them forever without them standing up and having something to say about that. The question is going to be, who are they going to look at as their leaders in that process? You're going to get a version of masculinity, which takes all of those masculine traits, looks at all the people that they think have attempted to emasculate them, and says, unleash it on them. F those people. You can have another group of men, older men, that are telling these young men, yeah, that sucks. It shouldn't have happened, but we need you to be strong and we need you to be noble. You're right. They lied to you about these attributes, but you have to develop in the way that they're going to go, because the only way that you're going to save the sort of society that you want to live in, the only way that you're going to create it is if you stand up and you actually assume that role. And it sucks that you have to do it under these conditions, but you do. So let's do it. I honestly don't know which path they're going to choose. Right now, if I had to guess, it's not this one. And that is going to be very, very dangerous. Not for me, but it's going to be very, very dangerous for a lot of people to perpetuate this. And so they're going to have to wake up to the fact that for those of us that are trying to educate young men in a way that we think will use those traits toward a noble purpose, you're making it really hard for us to do our jobs right now. And again, you're going to be the ones that pay the price, not us.
Why aren't men getting married anymore? It's not because they hate love or they're against love. It's because the system is actually stacked against them. In 1960, 72% of adults were married, and today it's barely 50%. And among men under 30, it's pretty much nowhere. Here's why. Divorce courts, they'll take all of the man's money, they'll take the kids, they'll take the house. 90% of child custody goes to women, and men pay millions in child support and alimony every year. Then there's the happy wife, happy life culture where men sacrifice everything to keep the peace. Meanwhile, if a man wants traditional roles, it's labeled as toxic. So men naturally ask themselves, what is the upside? And for a lot of guys, there isn't one. It's not that men in general hate commitment. They hate commitment to a system that is designed to punish them for existing. Till marriage becomes a partnership and not a legal liability, men will continue to keep saying, no thanks. Do you think men are right to walk away from the thought of marriage, or do you think that marriage is still worth it? Let me know in the comments.
What's an opinion you have that might piss some people off?
Men are treated like second-class citizens in society. Let's count them many ways. 1, if anything was to go wrong in a relationship dissolves or anything goes awry, automatically the man is to blame. The men oftentimes get a bad rap. And the narrative goes a little something like this. He must have cheated, he must not have met her emotional needs because he was neglectful, or he was an abuser. Irrespective of whatever happens in that relationship, the man walk away as to blame. Number 2, no matter how hard a man has it in life, he's always expected to just suck it up and deal with it. God forbid that he shows a modicum of emotion, or he shows a little bit of frustration, or he cries, he's automatically labeled as aggressive or even weak. He's a weak man, he's a wuss, he's a wimp for showing emotions and crying. Men are oftentimes expected to deal with whatever life tosses their way, deal with it like a man, suck it up like a man, and not show even a little bit of emotion. 3, men are oftentimes expected to protect and provide. But who protects them? Women get all up in arms when told to nurture their men. They think it is an act specifically reserved for children. Men have needs too. 4, when a woman hits a man, society do not frown as much. But let the reverse be true, and a man hits a woman. Number 5, women cheat just as much as men do. The percentages are very similar in number. But let society tell it though. Men are serial cheaters. Number 6, men are victim of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and harassment. But you're not ready for that conversation though. 7, men are expected to always make the first move, whether it be to approach a woman that they like or whatever. Even at home, men are still expected to initiate sexual contact, to initiate sex. Man, it has to be hard to be a man. Number 8, women could be stay-at-home moms and nobody says a thing. But if an arrangement calls for a man to be a stay-at-home dad, he is viewed as a deadbeat, he's a scrub, he's lazy, this, that, and the other. Number 9, most suicide victims are men. Every 60 seconds, we lose a man to suicide. Imagine if the reverse was true for women. Number 10, let's talk about the unfair custody arrangements in society, how it is egregiously, unfairly skewed towards women. Shall we talk about how a man's life could be totally annihilated and destroyed by a simple claim of sexual assault?
Men lately, really over the past few years, compared to decades ago, fewer men are working full-time and fewer men are getting married, fewer men are having kids or starting families, and testosterone in men has dropped dramatically over the past several decades, not slightly, but dramatically. And that affects energy, confidence, risk-taking, and motivation. Meanwhile, women are outperforming men in education, entering the workforce at a higher rate, and then women are turning around asking, where did all the good men go? And I don't know what to say to that, because this isn't happening because men suddenly became lazy or broken. It's because when you tell someone or a group of people that they're the problem and you never offer them a positive solution, eventually they're going to stop trying to play the game at all. So what happens when a culture teaches men that their natural instincts are dangerous and toxic and then offers them no meaningful role in return? Because pretending men are not necessary anymore doesn't hurt just men, it breaks society.
Everyone has an opinion, so here's mine. Every single day I get on one of these apps and I continue to hear about women saying men are withdrawing from society, from being present and active participants in society. Now, do men still show up and do their jobs, infrastructure, working at the car dealership, the car repairman and all that? Yes. But when it comes to social functions, when it comes to nightlife, when it comes to clubs, restaurants, bars, grills, things of that nature, men have checked out. And a lot of women are wondering why. Now, I'd like to be as respectful as I possibly can in what I'm going to say next, but I feel like we must also be honest. So we'll start off by saying this. It's obvious knowledge that women have all for years been asking men to leave them alone. They didn't want to be talked to. They didn't want to be bothered. They deemed it as harassment. That's low-hanging fruit, so let's move on from that. Then the next talking point that was used to try to describe this. is toxic masculinity. Well, you said all of us were toxic masculinity representatives and you didn't want to be a part of that. Okay, fine. So that's one and two that we can say we're not going to use. So what are we going to use to talk about this, to describe where have all the men gone, to give an explanation as to where the men have gone? And this is my answer. Men have not gone anywhere. Men are in the exact same spaces that they've always been in. You're asking yourself, well, then why the change? Why the shift? Why the noticeable difference in how men view the dating market, society itself, and just people in general? Well, for one thing, you told us that anything that we do, anything that we say is either zesty or toxic masculinity. There was no in between, no middle ground. It's either you're zesty when you try to, I guess, argue with women, when you try to challenge women, when you try to tell women that they're wrong, when you offer correction towards women, they view you as zesty. Only a zesty man would try to correct a woman when she's wrong. Only a zesty woman would rebut or have a retort for an inaccurate response by a woman. Only a zesty man would do that. And then, of course, you have toxic masculinity. Men who, just exist are considered as toxic masculinity. You woke up this morning, toxic masculinity. You took a breath, toxic masculinity. You went to work today, toxic masculinity. You operated a motor vehicle, toxic masculinity. Now, a lot of women may say, you're being ridiculous. It's not really like that. What about the guys who are abusers? What about the guys who are users? What about the guys who create broken families and homes? And us women, all we want to do is fight for our rights and stand up for ourselves and tell you men what we think about you and how we want you to improve yourself so that way you can be more viable options for us. Is that the gist of it, ladies? We're supposed to be more viable options for you. Let alone the fact that God created woman to be man's helpmeet. Somewhere in society and throughout time, you've gotten that twisted. And now you think that it is the man who is here to cater to you. And throughout all of this change and upheaval and evolution, men have come to realize that once you do the cost-benefit analysis of being in a relationship with a woman, you realize that you lose way more than you gain. Women will tell you all the time how they support everything, how they keep society running, how they take care of the household, how they're the brains of the operation. And if you watch society's television shows, movies, and social media, that would lead you to believe that that's the case. But in actuality, most women are children and need provision and need someone to look after them and take care of them and tell them, no, don't do that, that's wrong. Most women couldn't think themselves out of a wet paper bag. Now, they have intelligent women all over the world, of course. The problem is most women can fly the plane, but very few of them can actually land it. I hate to be disrespectful to anybody, but the bottom line is men have finally realized that women are nothing more than headaches and liabilities. And if you do not wish to reproduce, there is nothing more than recreational use for a woman. I'm sorry. Now, we can sit up there and say, oh, we can build this and we bring value and we do this, that, and the third. Yes, but everything that you do, a man can do for himself. There isn't one thing outside of sexual contact or reproduction that a man cannot do for himself. We can't rely on you for protection. We can't rely on you for money. We can't rely on women for anything. So realistically, what actually do we need you for? So it's like, why would I sign myself up to pay someone else's bills and take care of another man's children? The cost-benefit analysis does not equate to dealing with women on any level other than a platonic one. It just is what it is. And unfortunately, the toothpaste is now out of the tube. The light has been cut on and men actually see what women really are. We see female nature on display each and every day, and most of you are insatiable. There is nothing that we can do to satisfy you. There is nothing that we can do that will ever be good enough. So why even try? Right? And I'm not saying that that's a good mindset or a bad mindset. I'm just saying that is the mindset. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know yours. Drop a like, comment, share this video. Am I reaching? Did I do too much? Should men come back to the table? Do women really not need men for anything? What is it? Y'all let me know in the comments and smash that follow button.
So as a man in his late 20s, I'm 28, I have seen a change in our generation. As I look at these guys who are in their 18, 19, and early 20s, they seem to not be as approachable. They seem to be more self-preserving people because of how society has changed the culture of, as a man, you have to be some sort of way. And it just made it seem so impossible for them to do those certain things at a very young age. So therefore, they tend not to try, you know. So things are really hard nowadays, especially for young men, because of how society are programming their minds. And it's just very difficult with how the society and the job markets will shape the future for these young men. It will definitely hinder them from playing their roles, their masculine duties to provide and protect.